Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talking Smack, episode 5. With me this week is the wonderful Mandii Moore. Not that Mandii Moore.
Different one.
Thank you for being on the show this week.
Thank you for inviting me.
And we have a fun topic. We're going back to video games. We're going to do our top 5 desert island. Mandii has presented me with an interesting query that I have to ponder while we go through our news fairly quickly here. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Godzilla King of Monsters is wrapped production, but it's not due out until March of 2019.
Oh, it's killing me. One of my good friends actually is a huge Godzilla fan, so he won't ever let me not hear about everything Godzilla. So the fact that
Sounds like a good friend to me.
Yeah, right? He goes to the Godzilla cons every year, and he actually got to meet like one of the creators, and
oh, cool.
He's a huge fanboy for it. But yeah, it's all the good movies always get pushed back.
Well, this one's probably like 60% post-production anyway, because you've got giant monsters. There's rumors that it's going to be not just Mothra or King Ghidorah, but there are also rumors that they're throwing in Rodan in there as well.
You gotta create a like Marvel Cinematic Universe, but for kaiju.
It seems like they're throwing all their monsters in one movie, though, and that has me a little concerned.
Oh, okay, so Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, or Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh, God. That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, well, we're getting into that in a little bit here. Not necessarily those movies in particular, but the Sony people. But yeah, it's kind of exciting. Immediately after that, we also have Godzilla versus King Kong. I forget exactly what that's going to be called. But I'm excited for this kaiju genre that's really kind of budding out since Pacific Rim came out.
I am too. Pacific Rim, I loved. I'm not the biggest kaiju person, but I've always been around like anime, Japanese culture, growing up with that. So I always remember in Japanese class when we had a slow day, our teacher would throw up the old classic black and white Godzilla movies in Japanese, so no subtitles, nothing. So I love those for the cheesiness factor and everything on it. And then I remember my dad loved the what was it? The 1998, 99?
Oh, no.
Oh, God.
That's when
I love my dad, but...
You keep him at arm's length and you just go, I don't know this man.
Yeah, pretty much. So we watched that all the time, and I just remember being like, this sucks. Like, I want something good. So that's kind of something I'm really happy about is, I guess these genres you don't really see anymore are kind of getting, their dues finally. Good or bad, or at least they're kind of dipping their toes in the water and seeing how it goes.
Yeah, the nostalgia stuff is really is coming back in a strong way. Like, you've got Power Rangers coming back. The movie was fine. I think it was better than average, but we'll see what actually happens if they get a sequel.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
That definitely falls into the kaiju. You've got giant monsters fighting giant robots, so that's the important thing. The nostalgia stuff is here to stay for at least another probably 10 years until our generation gets a little too old and they go for the younger generation,
easily.
The millennials. I don't consider myself a millennial. I'm in my early to mid 30s, and I every time someone lumps me in with the millennials, and I'm like, I'm what is it? What was it, Gen Y or Gen Pepsi? One of those?
Gen Pepsi. Well, a lot of the problem is they technically haven't done the cutoff time yet. But if you actually look at it, it's millennials, and then there's what are they called? They're called like centennials or something like that. That's the younger gen. But instead of calling them that, they're just calling them all millennials. So everybody in their mid-30s to like 8 are technically a millennial right now, which it's a little... They need their cutoff point.
That's fairly wide-ranging.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, okay, cool, because you have all these generations that... Yeah, maybe 20 years and they cut it off and they all have names. But apparently a millennial is everybody born 30 years ago till the next 50 years, apparently.
Pretty much. Moving on, speaking of things that happened 50 years later, Avatar 2 has begun production.
Yeah, 50 years.
Talk about striking when the iron's not hot anymore.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of, like, just thinking back on video game topics, just... Minecraft, just after, or Five Nights at Freddy's on that matter, of like, okay, cool, that was cool about 4 years ago, 4 years ago, and now you're just now seeing all this merchandise and all these, like, big plans and all. Yeah, no, Avatar, it was cool. when it came out, I wasn't the biggest fan. I'm a grump when it comes to most things, to be fair. It was cool. It was like the first 3D movie I really saw. And the 3D was pretty impressive, especially since it being early age of the new technology they're doing.
Yeah, they got rid of the red and blue
not the
glasses
old, like,
with
Jaws
cardboard.
3D.
Yeah, it was the like cool sunglasses, hipster 3D.
The hipster 3D. Yeah, no, I just and how many?
They're going up to 5.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
I want to know where he thinks the story can go. I feel like they told a pretty concise story in Avatar.
Yeah.
I mean, they also ruined another franchise by taking the name Avatar.
Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, M. Night Shyamalan
Shyamalama Ding Dong
had a little help in that too, but.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they couldn't even call Aang the Avatar. They had to change it to the Avatar because they didn't want to sound too much like Avatar.
Yeah.
So James Cameron gets a big middle finger from me for that one. But he also gets maybe some redemption because he's making Terminator 6. That's actually Terminator 3. Well, he's not making it. He's producing it, and it's being directed by Deadpool director. Oh, dang, I forgot his name. Tim something. It doesn't matter. He made Deadpool. That's the important part.
Yeah, that's all he'll be known for.
Yeah, and basically they're bringing back Linda Hamilton, who played the original Sarah Connor. Obviously, Arnold's coming back, and they're going to embrace his age. I don't know exactly how they're doing that. No one does, obviously.
Right.
They also have the people who did the Sarah Connor Chronicles working on the script. Oh. So it's kind of cool that they're having like the people who made good Terminator things working on this instead of just having random people like, I have a script, it could work as a Terminator movie.
To be fair, it's about time though. I'm so tired of movies getting sequels or anything, TV shows, and they just bring on people who don't know what they're doing. And again, like, you know, everybody can be a rookie and have like a big breakthrough, but when you have a formula that works, like a team that knows what they're doing and they get the lore and they understand the characters, why not bring them back? It'd be too easy, I guess.
Well, in the case of these people, they're the ones who basically created the lore. It's not just like they know it. They created it. James Cameron essentially sold the rights to the first Terminator so he could make it, and then he made the sequel. And then he was like, I've told my stories, I'm done. And then they just drove the series into the ground.
Yeah, pretty much.
And he's just like, I'm going to go make Titanic and take a 10-year sabbatical until I make Avatar.
Right.
And then this news makes me a little sad. There's going to be a Teen Titans Go feature movie coming in 2018. This is going to be a theme in the next couple of things we talk about. One, that seems really quick. So obviously this has been in the works for a while. And two, you have that look in your face that just says, I love Teen Titans Go.
I don't. My best friend absolutely hated it at first. Now it's her guilty pleasure.
Oh, geez.
So she is so stoked. But she embraces how dumb it is. She embraces. She knows. She knows it's terrible, but I'm happy for her.
I just have a hatred in my gut for this show because it's basically what killed Young Justice. And I love that show. That show is so good.
I'm super happy about new season finally popping up.
Unfortunately, it's on a new streaming service published by DC.
Yeah.
So another thing that you have to subscribe to.
And Marvel's doing that too now, where they're doing their own little streaming service, I'm pretty sure.
Disney is.
Oh, Disney, that's what it is. And they're going to have some Marvel stuff on there.
I think they've confirmed that it'll have Disney and Marvel as well, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just...
Or Disney and Marvel and Star Wars.
Yeah, and it's just, my money. I'm already throwing all my money at video games and comic books and, like, the 2 movies I can afford to see a year because, God forbid, I come up with $50 for a box of popcorn. But now all these streaming services of shit I need to watch now.
Yeah, I do think the streaming thing will eventually self-correct just because people are going to start picking and choosing. I think CBS is already starting to kind of regret their streaming service because... having Star Trek and I assume the entire back catalog of The Big Bang Theory is not enough to get people to subscribe to your service.
I hope so. I'm really, well, it was kind of like the whole fiasco with cable a few years back where people are like, man, it'd be great if I could just buy like 15, 20 channels that I love instead of buying a package of 10,000 channels and only watching 3. Streaming service kind of was somewhat of an answer to that, being like, okay, cool, well, $8 a month, you get to watch, a collective of shows that you like. But now that they're adding, everybody's got streaming now.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, guys.
Which small side tangent. That's one of our favorite things to do on this show. I don't know if you've listened and noticed, but we love tangents and streaming services. I just have to give a quick shout out of love to Hulu because they brought TGIF to their service this week.
That's awesome.
And after 24 years, I finally got to see the series finale to Perfect Strangers.
I saw that today. You seemed very happy.
That's like my biggest childhood regret. My family went on vacation to the Wisconsin Dells, and my mom's friend came along with us, and she just says, "Let's go see the Tommy Bartlett show." And I'm like, I'm staying here in the hotel room because I have to watch the Perfect Strangers finale.
Yeah, there you go.
And they make me go, and the Tommy Bartlett show is sold out. So I don't even get to see the Tommy Bartlett show, whatever the hell that actually is.
Yeah. So you automatically hate Tommy Bartlett.
Exactly.
For the
I
rest of your
refuse to go see that show to this day.
Apologies to Tommy Bartlett and his family.
And we get back to our hotel room, and it's literally the curtain call when the credits are rolling. And I was pissed that entire vacation.
You're like, thanks, Mom. I regret everything.
The little 8-year-old me just finally was able to let go. So yeah, thank you, Hulu, for that. And kind of going back to our main topics now, getting back on track from our tangents. Michelle Williams was announced to be cast alongside Tom Hardy for Sony's Venom movie, which is due out October 5th, 2018. Now, there's two things going on here. One, we're going back on the theme of very short turnaround on this. This movie essentially needs to be done at the time we're recording this in about 53 weeks. That's when it's releasing, in 53 weeks.
Oh my God.
So that means they're still doing pre-production, getting like Tom Hardy fitted for his Venom costume, getting like the previs stuff going for the Venom stuff. They have to get the rest of the cast going. They have to get sets built. I assume they have some awful form of a script that they've already greenlit because this is being produced by Sony. This is not like Spider-Man Homecoming where Marvel had all of the production stuff going and Sony just got the distribution and profits.
Sure.
This is 100% Sony. So we're getting Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 2 people on this.
See, okay, I'm a grump. I'm cynical, but oh God, I so want this to be good. I like the idea of Tom Hardy playing Venom. I think that's a pretty... I personally like that casting.
I won't knock it.
But,
it's a fine choice. It's just
but it's Sony.
Yeah, it's Sony. It's not connected to the Spider-Man Homecoming universe. It's a Venom standalone movie with no Spider-Man. I don't know how you get Venom without Spider-Man.
Have they said anything regarding they're just doing Venom, or have they went into it? Because maybe an Agent Venom. That's
they haven't confirmed
cool,
anything. They've just said Venom.
But to be fair,
they could go an Agent Venom route with it.
Yeah, an Agent Venom with Flash Thompson. Mm-hmm. That would be cool because that I can see being on its own. Maybe Spider-Man in the background is going, "Sup, dude?" Whip, whip, whip. But like, if you're doing an Eddie Brock Venom, then yeah, no way in hell is that going to work whatsoever without Peter in the mix at all.
And I've heard that. This is all completely speculative. I've heard that they're aiming for an R rating with this as well because I believe they want to bring in Carnage. I mean, he's a mass murderer, so obviously you need to be a little visceral with it.
Well, with a name like Carnage, you gotta have like people spewing out rainbows and candy, right? Like piñatas.
Then you get all the pissed off parents.
Yep.
I brought my kid to see a superhero movie.
Yeah. Oh God, that all over again. Oh.
And then Sony, again, with the quick turnaround, they also have a Spider-Man animated movie coming out featuring Miles Morales.
I'm cool with that.
I'm cool with Miles Morales. I don't have a problem with that. Again, I'm just scared we're getting an emoji movie kind of thing where it's just we're trying to make a quick buck because they announced this around the same time that the Spider-Man Homecoming deal happened. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they've had a little bit of time to work on it, but for an animated movie, about 2.5 years is still a really quick turnaround.
Yeah. Now, Sony, were they the ones who did Hotel Transylvania? I think.
Oh, I couldn't
Sony,
tell you that one.
I'm pretty sure Sony did because Sony and Adam Sandler are pretty much like butt buddies at this point.
Why am I not surprised?
Yeah. See, now everybody I've ever talked to, they loved that movie. They thought it was hilarious. They thought the animation was super smooth. I didn't like anything about it, even down to the animation. And this is kind of like a weird tangent, but it makes me think of, Spider-Man in the sense that I just really hope that it's not the same, like, I guess, animating team or studio, because, and again, I'm in a minority from this. Everybody I've talked to loves it, and they thought the movie was hilarious, but I think as far as an animated Spider-Man film, what gets me nervous is just, I couldn't stand Sony's animation team. I don't like the art design. All the characters always look just kind of ugly to me. Pixar, you can tell Pixar. Even DreamWorks, for that matter, you can tell DreamWorks. They all have that specific art style. To me, Sony, everything I ever see from Sony animated just looks ugly. I don't like their art style. So I hope at least, again, if they do Spider-Man, they can at least kind of play around with it. Maybe do, I don't know, it'd be kind of cool to see it animated in almost a Borderlands or
the comic cell shading.
Yeah, Telltale kind of way with the heavy shading and everything. But
that would be a really cool feature, but that seems a bit too creative for Sony.
And it requires
you were right.
effort.
You were right. Those movies were distributed by Sony and made by Sony Animation.
Okay, yeah. See, and kudos to you, Sony Animation. Some people like you. I don't. I don't know. You don't float my boat. I'm sorry.
Hotel Transylvania came out almost exactly 5 years to the day.
Oh, really? Well, how ironic of me to bring that up. I hate you.
Happy 5th anniversary. They also now have a show on Disney Junior, I think.
Really?
Or Disney Channel. Yeah, my daughter, we pretty much have Disney Junior on all the time, and we see advertisements for it. And I just think, Disney got this?
Yeah.
Really?
Huh.
And now they've also got their own little vampire girl coming out too this October. So if you got small kids that are stuck on Disney, have fun watching that with me as well.
There you go.
Sticking with some shady, not necessarily shady, but like, I don't even know, like skepticism movie news. DC and the DCEU, Warner Brothers, they have announced that they are going to continue to make standalone movies that are not necessarily connected to the DCEU. The way they're phrasing this is really weird. It's kind of like what Matt Reeves said when they were talking about how the Batman is going to be a standalone. It's not going to be connected to the DCEU. And people just assumed that it meant they're going to get a new actor, they're going to get a new cast. It's not going to be connected by any means. Matt Reeves came back and said, "Oh no, Ben Affleck is my Batman. It's just not going to have those little threads that connect to the Justice League in any like bigger picture.
Yeah.
It's going to be its own self-contained story," which is what I hope is the case for these standalone movies.
I was going to say, I was thinking about it more and more today before hopping on talking to all you lovely folks. I'm actually... I have some positivity for it, because my biggest problem with the DC cinematic universe is I want to love these movies so much. I do. I want to be so immersed, and I want all that. My biggest problem with them is Marvel had almost a 10-year head start, and DC is trying to catch up and be at the same part of like the timeline as Marvel's at. Marvel's in what, phase 3 going on 4?
They're moving into phase 4 in 2019.
Okay.
They're doing Avengers 4, and then phase 4 starts that July with Spider-Man Homecoming 2.
Okay. So yeah, so there's several phases in, on top of just, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Jessica Jones and
Daredevil,
like
Iron
Daredevil,
Fist, the
Iron
Defenders.
Fist, all those. Kind of more like Easter egg tying in, but still tying in some way. They've had 10 plus years now to build on this. DC's jumping in, and they're jumping in fast and hitting the ground running, jumping out of a jet airplane with no parachute kind of thing. It's super hit or miss for me. You can tell things feel rushed. You can tell. To me, the biggest standpoint of that was Suicide Squad. It's fine for anybody who liked it. I see the good points in it, as far as like the characters were pretty well portrayed for the most part, hit or miss, but I hated that movie. That was one of the first movies I literally almost walked out of the theater. I hated it so much because it was just a mess. I would love to see what that movie could have been if they had actually taken time to develop it and didn't, stick their fingers in the pie and just let the creators create. So for the fact of like standalone movies, if they're just their own self-contained thing and they don't have to tie in, they don't have to have that meddling, and it's just creative control goes to the creative team, hey, that's awesome. I would love to see DC characters get their own little movies that don't suck.
Yeah, that's
put it bluntly.
That's the important thing, or at least movies that don't disappoint would be maybe a little bit more apt. Batman v Superman was a big disappointment, mostly because Zack Snyder wanted to do a Batman movie, but DC and Warner Brothers said, you're doing a Superman sequel. And he compromised by saying, I'm doing 2/3 of a Batman movie and 1/3 of a Superman movie. And we're going to throw in a bunch of Justice League teasers because we're going to call it Dawn of Justice. I talked about this recently with Alex. Nothing Suicide Squad. That movie could not exist and I won't care. It's fine. Like, I loved Margot Robbie as Harleen Quinzel when they were doing the Mad Love stuff outside of, Jared Leto's grill and the tattoos.
Damage.
Nuance.
Yeah.
Like, outside of the visual of Jared Leto's Joker, I thought the Mad Love stuff, even though it was rushed, was done pretty well. But then they made her Harley, and she got the tattoos and the fishnets, and she looked like some kind of hoe bag, and it didn't work for me. The main thing for me about, like, women superheroes in these movies is you don't have to sex them up. Like, they're already pretty much very attractive women. You don't have to put her in Daisy Dukes and fishnets and a tank top that gets ripped and show off her bra. Like, okay, fine.
I'll take it. I'll take what I can get on the big screen. No, well, I think what it comes down to is just most of 99.9999% of female superheroes already are just sexy on the comic book itself, like on the pages, and then you cast these beautiful women. Like, you could put them in the most ridiculous looking spandex and my god, they'd be beautiful and just fan service for days. And Harley was always more of a with someone like Poison Ivy, it makes sense. Poison Ivy is very sexualized. That's her thing. She seduces people, men and women, to get what she needs and take over the world with plants and shit. But Harley, to me, what made her sexy was her playfulness and her cuteness. Like, and again, like, cute girls can be sexy too, in lingerie or whatever. They don't have to be wearing frou-frou frills and everything, but she was more sexy in the fact that she was adorable and cute and eventually grew that confidence that, she at least has in the comics now, where she don't need no Joker, psychologically abusing her and stuff,
exactly,
and trying to kill her and everything. They kind of just took her and went like, oh yeah, we'll make her kind of like a Playboy, kind of thing where she's taunting and teasing and all that. It's fine, but they overdid it a little bit. Yeah,
and again, there are some things that I can forgive, but among other things like the face tattoos and the tattoo in her lower abdominal area that says "Lucky You," like, no,
sure. Edgy.
Yeah, that sort of stuff just rubbed me the wrong way, and I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that rub them the right way.
Right. Well, hey, that's what
that's what DC was going for, I'm sure. But these standalone movies, again, they have a quote here. Our intention certainly moving forward is using the continuity to help make sure nothing is diverging in a way that doesn't make sense. Which right there, we already have issues.
Yeah.
But there's no insistence upon an overall storyline or interconnectivity in that universe. This is from Diane Nelson, DC Entertainment president. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think part of what Age of Ultron suffered from was trying to extend too many threads. What the Avengers movies need to be is the event that was building up from the other movies.
It finalizes it.
Yeah.
It has to be that end chapter and then like a prologue maybe, but
yeah, and you can leave it open-ended in the end, like you're saying. But they just diverted too much. Like, instead of spending time with Ultron, finding out why he's so menacing and why his plan is so unstoppable, we get 5 minutes of pre-Civil War Tony and Cap banter.
Yeah. Well, hey, they gotta fight somehow, and they gotta start fighting now, right? That's what the kids want. They want to see the superheroes punching each other.
Yeah, they punch for a bit and then they become friends.
Yeah, well, just like real friends, right? Every friendship I've ever had.
Not in today's society.
Every friendship I've ever had has always been like that. Come on, kids. What are you doing?
But yeah, I think Aquaman comes out next summer. And I'm excited for Aquaman. If it's a standalone movie where they're not trying too hard to allude to the extended universe, as much as I'm sure some people will hate me referencing this, in Batman Forever, there's a really subtle reference when Dick Grayson is getting ready to just leave Bruce after being dropped off by the cops. he's like, Bruce just asks Dick, "Are you going to run off to the circus again? I'm sure they're halfway to Metropolis by now." And if you're not really paying attention, he might as well have just said Cincinnati.
Yeah.
But again, he said Metropolis, and that automatically builds this bigger world.
It makes you feel like you're exactly. It makes you feel like you're in the world. I like little things like that, and it never feels as long as it doesn't feel forced. But something like that, just like a one-off, like, hey, dude,
yeah,
Metropolis.
And again, they did that really well in Wonder Woman, where someone from Wayne Enterprises drops off a photograph for Diana. Okay, that's great. And then there's no other mention of the bigger universe out there. And that's fine, because, again, we've already been introduced to that world through Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad. So we know that universe exists and that universe is out there.
Exactly. So I guess time will tell. We'll see.
Okay, so moving on to our main topic here. The idea is we're individually, not together, just to get that out of the way.
I have my half of the island.
Yeah, sure. We are stranded on an island, and just for the sake of this discussion, there's a genie that pops out, and he says, "I'll give you one wish, and that one wish can't be to leave this island." And so we're both going to say, "Oh, well, then I want entertainment. I want a video game system that plays these 5 games."
Oh,
and
this is the hardest thing to narrow down. 5.
You had an intriguing question of, does this get Wi-Fi? Does this island get Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Just because I'm super curious as to what your answer would be, I'm going to give you 6 so you can tell me what your Wi-Fi answer would be.
Only one Wi-Fi game, right?
Yes.
So it's nothing too exciting. I was telling him it's going to be my honorable mention if there's no Wi-Fi for the internet. Overwatch. That has been my biggest... I'm not an online gamer, so no Wi-Fi would be really easy for me. I like single-player stuff. But my God, the amount of time I have wasted of my life in Overwatch is astounding. And, I mean, if I'm stuck with only 5 games for the rest of eternity until I dry up on an island, I might as well have one that's kind of just endless and every match is different.
Yeah.
And there's cute characters there, and I love it. Roadhog for life.
When I went to... I haven't played Overwatch yet. I just haven't had the time. When I went to C2E2, I saw probably 7 or 8 different cosplayers as the woman who has the bunny emblem.
Diva.
Yeah.
Yep. Actually, one of my best friends, they went to C2E2 this year. On the one day I didn't go figure, but they did a big casual Overwatch group. It was really great. She was like in a sports jacket and everything. It was awesome. I'm super jelly. But yeah, that's like my number 6 / honorable mention.
See, I technically would have an honorable mention, but I'm still trying to figure out what side of the coin is going to land. Because I have one where I just have a slash, and I'm going to say my honorable mention would be Turtles in Time. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4 Turtles in Time.
That's a good one.
It's a classic. It gets challenging, and even playing by yourself, I think that you can interweave it with different things. It's not just this one thing that you're stuck playing. So I think
for sure.
it offers a good enough variety of different things. You have the surfing levels. You have the standard beat-em-ups. So I would say that's actually going to be my honorable mention, just because, again, it offers a really good variety. But I don't think it offers enough to be on my top 5.
Right. That's kind of, I had 2 other technical honorable mentions, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like, well, I love these games, but I don't know if I could hold up playing them again and again and again for all eternity. I had like American McGee's Alice, Madness Returns, like those 2. I love those games. Even though Madness Returns was a bit of a disappointment and letdown, I still love it.
They basically just turned it into God of War.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that just because I have a simple mind. I like hack and slash. I call them popcorn games. Because even though like some, like Devil May Cry, you need some finesse. Even God of War to some extent, you need some finesse, especially to hit those combos.
The early ones, yeah. I think God of War 3 kind of dumbed a lot of that down.
Definitely. That's one of my favorites just because of that, but 2 is definitely... Well, I won't get into it just yet, but yeah, it's yeah. Woohoo.
Okay. So my first game that I'm going to go with is Tetris.
Yeah, why didn't I think
it's
of something so simple?
It's so simple and so great because This would probably be my game if it was only one game, just because, again, as long as I have marathon mode, it's constantly fun. Like, you'll get pissed off and be in like 5 minutes, so you're like, let's go again.
Ah, dang. Now
No
I feel
story.
like you're winning.
No story, nothing. It's just competition against yourself trying to beat your score. And then obviously if you get one of the newer versions, you get different styles of play where you get the...
They have the Puyo Puyo now, like on Switch and stuff. And oh, that's so much fun.
Yeah, and the 3DS had a 3D like cylinder Tetris.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
I never checked that one out. I always wanted to look into that one because I heard it was challenging. Like, it was entertaining. But,
yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
Oh, man. You're winning.
All right. So,
Jeez.
and these are in no particular order, by the way.
Okay, good. I was going to ask.
Tetris is my number one. Like, if I had to choose one, it would probably be this, just because, again, I would continually go back because got to beat my score. I got to do better.
I'm addicted to it's a phone game called 1010. It's kind of like Tetris, but it's a 10 by 10 grid.
Okay.
And you don't rotate the shape you get is what you have to deal with. If you don't have space, it's game over. And there's no winning, but my God, every time I quote lose, I'm like, okay, again, I gotta beat my score. So I totally understand that. If it's no particular order, if I have to go with a number 5 slot as far as just an absolutely replayable game, Binding of Isaac, specifically Afterbirth Plus.
You're going way too intellectual for me. I have never even heard of this game.
It was originally on Steam. It's pretty much on almost all systems now. The Switch just got, it's called Afterbirth Plus. It's essentially kind of the most complete version out there, at least on systems.
That sounds a little disgusting.
It's disgusting. I love it. It's a roguelike dungeon crawler. So take like Legend of Zelda, the original, the first one. So you got like a top-down perspective. What is it, like Parodius type shooter? So like you get or what's another one?
When you're talking shooters with
Gradius, is that another one? It's like where like you're a spaceship and you get little like power-ups. Think Contra.
Okay.
There, we're gonna go even.
Yeah, there we go.
Contra.
Contra would have been a good one from the list.
Haha. So it's essentially Legend of Zelda dungeon crawler with Contra-esque power-up system. So you can power down, all the powers stack in some way. You shoot your tears, but you're a little boy and your mom's trying to kill you. And you are descending further and further into the basement until you eventually reach, like, basically hell. The one of the final bosses is called Mega Satan, and he's super awesome and really difficult. But I love the game because it's literally endless. You can get any and all combinations. There's different characters that have some perks and some downsides. Like, some characters can fly, but they technically have no hearts, so you cannot refill your hearts. And once they're gone for good unless you get certain power-ups. Every day is a challenge mode. It's a new challenge. They have just a random 30 to 50 challenges in the thing, and they're super freaking hard. I have easily sunk, oh God, like 300 plus hours into that game. Originally when I got it on my Vita, and now that I have it on my Switch, I literally stopped playing Breath of the Wild to pick up Binding of Isaac again. I love that game. It's disgusting. You're shooting your tears at poop, and there's like enemies everywhere, and like one of the levels is literally your mom's uterus.
Oh Jesus!
It's great. I love this game. I love this game so much. If you can handle gross humor and just grossness in general, it's fantastic. I highly recommend it.
Where would you put it on a scale of like Catherine? Did you ever play Catherine?
Oh God, a long time ago. I'm trying to remember. Like as far as
because Catherine's like just weird. I know it's not necessarily gross, but it's weird.
It's definitely it's an American-made game, so it's weird like that rather than the Japanese weird. If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because like weird for anime is a whole other category than weird for America. It's honestly not that weird. It's actually I believe the guy who created it used to be a Newgrounds creator. So weird in the sense of Newgrounds, if you ever remember, like, kind of going on that, or Albino Black Sheep back in the day. Like,
okay.
You know. So it's gross, but it's not the... It's
and
not
what's
the worst
this one called again?
Binding of Isaac.
Binding of Isaac.
The Afterbirth Plus edition. But Binding of Isaac is the standard game, so...
Well, the title definitely makes more sense after telling me about some of the levels.
Pretty much, yeah. It's nasty. I love it.
I'm looking at my list. I'm just trying to think what would be a good one to reveal here.
I know, I'm like marking them off.
I did Tetris, so I'm going to stick with the puzzle genre, and I'm going to go Portal 2.
Oh, why didn't I? Okay, I'm crossing off one of my games and I'm putting Portal on there.
We can't have the same games.
Fuck! Dude, why didn't I think of I have a fucking Portal shrine at my house.
I
didn't even think of Portal. What the hell?
I love it. Portal came to me probably last night. I was just sitting there thinking, my list is okay. What would I play? I had Mass Effect 2 on my list for a good while. And then I was just thinking, what else did I play in that time frame? Because basically I was poor as dirt, and I basically had Mass Effect 2 and Portal 2. And I played the crap out of Mass Effect 2, but I love Portal 2 so much more.
I'm like legitimately mad at you that I can't steal that answer. I'm so mad.
The dialogue, the puzzles, like, again, if you're flipping around in these games, you're going to forget one. Plus, again, you have we don't have, that would have been a good Wi-Fi one for me, because then we could have played together.
Yeah,
across the Wi-Fi.
I could have shouted across the ocean to your other island, like, hey, dude, it's me.
But it's so good. GLaDOS is a potato. Wheatley, just everything Wheatley does.
Dude.
There's so many great things. Like when you're at towards the very end of the game, and Wheatley has you surrounded by these spiked non-portal barriers, and you just see this one pipe dripping the moon fluid, so you can get one portal. You have to shoot it before he crushes you with all the panels. The idea is you're supposed to keep running, but if you go back when Wheatley's calling, hey, no, come back.
No, just jump, please.
He's like, oh, you came back. I wasn't expecting that. How about you just jump in the pit? Go on, just jump in.
When I did that and I got a little achievement,
part.
I was like, yes, it's awesome.
The achievements are the best part of that game.
That's easily, and again, people can argue with me on this, but that is still the game. I have beaten it more times than I can count, easily over 15, 20 times. Like, I fucking love that game. Every time, every line of dialogue still cracks me up.
The very beginning, when Wheatley, you may have suffered serious brain damage. Can you say apple? Go ahead and say apple. Okay, you're jumping. That's fine. Okay. It's so great. And then GLaDOS just being such a snarky bitch.
Oh, I love her so much. She's one of my, like I said, I have a Portal shrine at home. I made a GLaDOS plush by hand, and I have it hanging, and I have my Wheatley and all that. Legitimately, too. Like, that game, at the end, when, spoilers for a whatever-year-old game.
Almost 10-year-old game at this point.
Yeah, almost 10-year-old game, but spoilers. At the end, when Wheatley's floating around in space at the Space Corps.
Oh, the space orb.
And for one, I love the Space Corps, because he's like, okay, I'm getting kind of bored of space.
Nope.
It's not as great as I thought. But, like, Wheatley's like, if I could change it, I'd say I'm sorry to her. Mm-hmm. Like, I know I was wrong. I cried. I was like, Wheatley, man, I miss you. Can I jump into space and get you, man?
Yeah, if you can find it, the dialogue for the space orb is amazing. Because again, he does get bored with space, and then he just gets jazzed up for it all over again.
Yeah.
It's great.
Dude, all the orbs. Like Rick the Adventure Orb.
Yep. Is he the one that, mighty fine lady there?
Yeah. Like, hey, little lady, looks like you might need some saving.
Oh, look out for that! Look out for that wall there! Oh, that was close.
They got you back, man.
So many, and then you have the one. Is the one that's telling you how to make the cake? Is that Portal 1 or Portal 2?
Oh God, that's Portal 1. It's like, I'm pretty sure it's just called like the ingredients orb. Or
the curiosity orb is probably my favorite out of the 6 that you get introduced to. 7 if you include Wheatley. The curiosity orb is just, what's that? Hey, look at that. What's that on your legs?
I liked the one, I can't remember. It was just the one that spewed facts, but all the facts were incorrect. They're like, 1942, Christopher Columbus met aliens and said, yo, what's up? But like, it just spews all the fake facts. I remember after the first time I beat that game, I just went online and just looked up all of the dialogue from all the spheres. And God, there's stuff I catch every time I play that game. Details or just jokes that I never heard in the first place. I love it. And then, oh, what's his name?
The Rat Man?
No. From Portal 2, the guy who created
Oh, Cave Johnson.
Cave Johnson.
J.K. Simmons.
Fucking love him. My biggest regret in life is not buying the Cave Johnson talking portrait off of ThinkGeek years ago. And then it went out and it never went back up. And I was like, I would have sold like my firstborn child to get that back now. Thank God I have no children because...
Hey, the resellers might get you for that one too.
Yeah.
So,
CPS might be after me after that comment. So.
Yeah. The last thing I'm going to say on Portal is that J.J. Abrams better not fuck up the movie.
Please. He's okay with sci-fi. I mean, Star Trek friends might disagree with me, but I mean, he's okay with it. Maybe. We'll see.
We'll let you go on to your second.
All right.
Non-honorable mention.
Yes. Number 4 of my 5, counting down. I kind of started going off on it earlier, but I held back. God of War. If I can't cheat and do the collection, so it's like God of War 1, 2, 3, and the 2 Vita game or PSP games.
I'll allow the collection because I believe you get 2 games on one disc in the third one, so I'll allow the collection.
Okay, cool. Collection it is, because otherwise it was going to be really hard to choose between 2 and 3. 3 is the worst of the 1, 2, and 3.
But it's so pretty.
But it's gorgeous, and honestly, I've always been a huge Greek mythology buff. My best friend and I, like, we studied that shit in high school. Like, if there could be just a degree to go and study Greek mythology, I'd be there. That mattered, I should say. I'm sure I could do that at any, like, college nowadays, but it probably wouldn't matter too much. Still be flipping burgers at McDonald's. It was the most satisfying thing, just seeing all the gods and just taking them out. Story-wise, though, 2, to me, a level of detail they hit, as far as being a huge Greek mythology buff, was
2
just
is the one with
fantastic.
Pandora's box?
No, the first one was Pandora's box, and you go on to, oh god, what's his name? Atlas's back, I think. I can't think of the Titan. You go onto the Titan's back, and it's the whole puzzle.
It's Atlas, yeah.
2 is with the 3 sisters of fate. You essentially, you die, you become God of War, and Athena's like, dude, you gotta, like, knock it off, stop being a little bitch. And he's like, no, I'm so upset about my wife. And Zeus essentially kind of comes down and he stabs him with a sword. So you start off basically coming out of Hades, and you're just trying to get your revenge against Zeus. Because, hey, there you go, because what else is on Kratos' mind but killing? But essentially, the only way to come back to life is you have to go to the 3 Sisters of Fate. They're the ones who cut the thread. You know, if you ever saw the Hercules Disney movie, even.
It's one of my favorites. I don't care what people say.
Ditto. Like, again, it botches everything in Greek mythology, but I love it. I do. Essentially, you have to take out those 3 sisters and kind of, like, redo your thread and make sure Destiny doesn't end up killing you. Essentially, he's going back in time to the moment right before Zeus stabs him and getting out of that pickle.
I think I just got too frustrated with the balancing portions to remember this part.
Oh, fucking, I hate it. Kratos was not built to be a platformer.
No.
Or be in a platformer. He is too bulky. He's too heavy.
They had to show off the, whatever that, I forget what it was called, where you could balance the...
Oh, the 6-axis.
Yeah, they had to show that off.
Oh, Jesus. I have
Palindrome.
I have no good thing to say about 6-axis, especially after playing Heavenly Sword. That shit pissed me off so much. And I kept, like, losing. And then finally my boyfriend's like, you know, you can just use the, C-stick. I'm like, fucking seriously? They're telling me, like, oh, wiggle to flip the remote in the air and do a backflip, and I can't do anything. And then they're like, oh, you can just turn that off. Whatever.
The 6-axis in Heavy Rain pissed me off, too.
Oh, God.
That's a different subject for a different time.
Oh, yeah, that'll be the next podcast, is why we hate the 6-axis. But yeah, no, I just, the level of detail in the God of War series, I love all the hidden collectibles. Still to this day, I haven't found them all, and I'm a big collectathon person. I love collectathons. To be fair, I'm also kind of a lazy shit, but...
That's why we play video games, right?
So sweet. I'm glad I could cheat, because definitely the collection, because it would be really hard for me to choose between 2 and 3.
I'll allow the collection.
Sweet. I think that's the only allowance I get as far as cheating goes, so I'll take it. I'll take my one cheat. And again, like I mentioned earlier, I love hack and slash. It's mindless, but God of War specifically, it's enough where you can finesse it, and there are some bosses that are super difficult. I still have so much difficulty beating Ares in the first game. God damn. He's an asshole.
What's the point of the game?
True. I guess it wouldn't be the same if he's like, Ares, I want to take you down. Okay. All right, sweet.
Or pull a Fable 2 where you just like get a really long dialogue and then you just
We don't talk about that. We don't talk about
Fable
that.
2 was so good until that point.
I know.
There's so much good stuff in that game. Damn you, Peter
Molyneux.
Molyneux. Okay, so my number 3 game, I'm going with the old sitcom adage where you start strong, you kind of go in the middle where you're not as sure on these things, and then you end strong. This one I feel is probably my weakest entry, but I love it. I just have so much nostalgia for this game, and I will never get tired of this game. It is the original Super Mario Kart.
Yay, there you go.
I despise Mario Kart 64 just because it's not Super Mario Kart. They went
Nope.
they went too far. I was like, this is not the game I know. And I mean, I've gotten better with as they've gone along. I think I played Double Dash once at a friend's house.
Oh, see, now I love Double Dash so much. But to be fair, I have like, it's kind of a nostalgic thing. I remember being in like early high school, and my friend had that, and every day after school, we just walked to her house and we'd play the hell out of that till my parents picked me up. I love that game.
Yeah, I just in high school I was in the AV club. Nerd alert. And
Nerd bird.
the teacher who was our advisor was like a college Super Mario Kart champion. So he brought in his personal N60 or SNES, and he brought in Mario Kart. Like, this is the only game that ever stays in this system.
Nice.
This is the only game we will ever play, and we would have monthly tournaments. He would just school us.
Nice.
Literally, and
Figuratively.
and we would go through our bracket, and then the winner of the bracket would play him until we finally got a chance to beat him. I don't think anyone actually ever beat him, but I just remember I stayed after school probably like an hour a day once I was able to drive, and I would just play Mario Kart with him. He was so good that he actually would turn around and just know where to go based on timing. He's what course are we on? Donut Hills 1 or Donut Plains 1? Okay. Go. And he would just go. Like he wouldn't necessarily get first, but he would finish.
Oh, wow.
Because he just knew the timing.
Jesus.
And I just love that game. There's no cheat codes in that game. The only cheat code in that game is to make your character smaller and make the game more difficult. And I just love that game because, again, it has that Tetris kind of feel to me.
Time trials. Like,
yeah.
Can I do it? Can I do better?
Well, not necessarily time trials, but like, again, in just the regular circuit races, my personal best on the very first Mario circuit, I think it was like 47 seconds.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's all because of Mr. Asbury. I downloaded it to my Wii probably like a year or two ago once they opened up the Virtual Console, and I need to find a way to get my hands on a smaller controller because the big Wii tablet is not conducive to playing the original SNES Mario Kart.
It's on the SNES Classic.
Yeah, no, not for 8. I looked through the games list, and if they had the full Donkey Kong trilogy, I think it might be worth it for me. But
that's my thing. No, dude, I got my hands on one.
Lucky you.
It's beautiful. It's so tiny, and I have tiny hands, and it's small in my hands, and I love it. But the controllers are legit. Like, they're actual size. They're legit SNES controllers. And I waited at midnight last night at, like, a Walmart, and I got it. And we got home, and I opened it up, and I was just like, oh my god, this feels right. This just feels right. It's awesome.
My old roommates and I, we had an SNES, and we would play like Turtles in Time, and we would do Mario Kart. Your middle of the road game.
Okay. I hold this game on a very high pedestal. This is one of my absolute favorites. But I think I'm going to pick it for my middle of the road. BioShock 1.
Ooh.
The original BioShock.
Yes.
I can 100%.
That's like a great noir that you could watch anytime.
Everything about that game, man. I grew up, I don't want to say sheltered, but my parents were a bit more conservative and stuff, so no M-rated games in the house. Our first M-rated game was Halo 1, because, and I quote, the blood was blue. That was the only reason, alien blood.
Was Halo 1? I thought that was teen.
No, it actually wasn't until Halo 5 that they actually started rating them T for teen. Which it's like
because
time.
the multiplayer had blood.
Yeah, yep. There was some blood, but it really, one of the biggest reasons was because of realistic depiction of weapons. The guns were realistic, so they had to rate it M. So I was always really behind. I never got to play some of those classics. Even now to this day, I'm just super behind. When Bioshock 1 came out, that was right about when I graduated high school. So that was the first one that I really just kind of bought on my own. And I played it, and I had never been more terrified and intrigued. It was the most amazing thing. Again, I'm a collectathon person. I can 100% that game every single time I pick it up. I will delete my save files immediately after playing it just to start up again.
Nice.
I love turning off all the Vita chambers, however you say it, and then just going in with a wrench and on like the hardest difficulty and be like, okay, Big Daddy, I'm ready. I'll take you on. I can play that game endlessly, down to especially the first one, to me, had just wonderful voice acting. Mm-hmm. All of those audio diaries, God, I still get chills on some of them. They're so incredibly scary or sad, and you feel the pain of the people of Rapture.
It's kind of like the voice acting is on par with Portal, but it's kind of like the anti-Portal. It sucks you into the world in a completely terrifying way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Man, the sound cue, everything, the sound cues, the music cues of just when something bad or sad happens and you just hear that violin. Oh, like every time I just get the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, and I love it. One of my favorite video game characters of all time is Tenenbaum, and another one's GLaDOS actually, but yeah, no, I love Tenenbaum. She was that was my biggest disappointment with 2, is that in all the marketing and previews they were pushing her. She was supposed to be like your guide. She was your atlas in 2, and then the game came out and like chapter 2 starts and she's like, oh well shit, guess I better get going. Bye. And I'm like, oh wait, where are you going? Sinclair was okay, but where are you, my girl? Not only that, but if I'm stranded on a desert island, I'll just throw on that game and listen to all the music. I grew up listening to a lot of that music from like the 1930s and 40s and the 50s and stuff. My dad always had a lot of like cassette tapes and stuff with a lot of older stuff on it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of that music I grew up listening to. So I could just gladly listen to all the jams in the jukebox, hiding from splicers, and just endless loop. That's great.
God, those splicers.
Oh.
I remember I played the demo of the original Bioshock at like 1 a.m. And when that first splicer shows up, I was just terrified. I was like, nope, can't do this before bed.
2 parts still. Okay, this doesn't get many more, but whenever my friends have never played the game, my favorite thing to do, and anybody who's played this, the dentist. Oh, one time I got sucker punched by an old friend. We were at a sleepover and we got to that part. We're like, oh dude, I think there's something over there. So she goes over and the smoke comes up and she's like all paranoid. We're like, you're fine. She turns around, scream bloody murder. Just starts whacking the guy with and just doesn't stop. And I'm cracking up. She just sucker punched me right. She's like, you bitch, why didn't you tell me? I'm like, oh, it hurts so bad, but oh, it was worth it. But every time I'm in Fort Frolic and you go into that hidden chamber room and you activate the splicers that are covered in wax, I still have regrets every time I do that, because I'm like, God, this makes the game even more terrifying. Just
kind of continuing on the Bioshock thread for a second, I really enjoyed, I don't know if you've heard this theory about Bioshock Infinite, where when your character dies, you restart in, I forget the guy's name off the top of my head, but you restart Booker? Each one in his Booker, yes, yeah. In his office. And the idea is, because they're dealing with timelines, is that you're picking up in a new timeline. Like each time you die is the end of that timeline, and you're basically just making it through to the Booker that makes it through to the end.
That's it, and honestly too, I mean, if that's not the truth, then it's the closest thing I have, because the whole game basically starts with you leaving your office, essentially.
Yeah.
You know, that's your push. You leave the office. So for me, I always viewed it as soon as you open up those doors, sure, technically you're at, the point that you last died, but it's another timeline where he had to go through the entirety of the game to get to that point, and he continues forth. So exactly like you said, it's a whole new timeline, because I'm sure you've heard of the butterfly effect.
Yep. Butterfly flaps its wings and a thunderstorm happens across the country.
Yep, essentially just like a thread continuously breaks off at each point. So it's just an endless, almost like tree, like just branches. So you have the timeline, and it starts off as Booker, and then Booker dies, and that timeline splits off into, okay, now here's the world with him dead, but then it splits off to, what if he doesn't die?
Yep.
And then what if he doesn't die? What if he doesn't die? And blah, 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 and it goes off. So Bioshock Infinite, and it's funny because a lot of people who like the first game, hated Infinite, and a lot of people who loved Infinite hated the first game. I
Yeah.
love both almost equally. BioShock 1 definitely takes my pick, but I never had a problem with Infinite.
Infinite's a lot of fun. I think a lot of what Infinite had going for it is the Songbird, where the Songbird was very heavily influenced in the marketing.
Yeah.
But
Didn't do
it showed up, and it was almost always a cutscene. There was never
Yeah.
anything that
It never felt like a threat,
yeah.
like a Big Daddy did.
Yeah, exactly. And that was where people were like, "Oh my god, this thing looks like a Big Daddy."
Yeah.
And
Really, the handymen were more the big daddies, but there was, like, nobody cared about handymen.
Yeah.
They were dumb.
because they weren't Big Daddies.
Yeah.
But yeah, an old coworker of mine, we were talking about this timeline theory with Booker, and he just said there should have been an achievement called the one and only if you made it through without dying.
Oh, that'd be cool.
But again, I don't think they had that much foresight. I think they were just like, we'll just start them in the office and yeah, we'll let them do this. Since it's never confirmed, it kind of reminds me of the indoctrination theory from Mass Effect 3.
Yeah.
Which,
yeah.
and that's still my
It makes the
headcanon.
most sense.
Yeah, it's still my
But they've
headcanon.
never come out and gone, yeah, okay, you guys are right. BioShock all the way.
That is a very solid pick.
Oh, I love that game.
And that kind of influences where I'm going to go with my number 2 pick. Again, these are not necessarily in any particular order. I think I'm saving this last one just because I enjoy it so much. So number 2 for me is Halo Reach.
Yes! Fucking thank you. Okay, people have, like, made fun of me so much. I love Reach.
Reach is arguably the best Halo game.
That's what I'm saying.
Hands down.
As far as the combat, I loved the combat layouts so much in that game. That last stand, you know how the story ends because it's a prequel. But that last stand, man, I had a frog in my throat. I was like, oh god, this is it.
No health bar. Your visor just continues to break.
Yeah.
That last sequence is amazing. Starting the game is amazing. Playing through the game is amazing because one of my favorite parts of the game is the fact that your character is customized through the cutscenes. So as you're leveling up, you get new armor pieces, and that translates into the game. And that kind of makes the playing through the campaign again like a new experience because you're like, oh man, this cutscene looks amazing because my character looks like this.
Yeah.
And then you unlock new stuff and you go through it again, like, oh my god, this looks even better.
Yes, thank you for picking that. When I worked at GameStop, I was constantly, people wanted to play Halo. They always like shit on Halo Reach. I'm like, have you actually played it? Well, no, but it doesn't have Master Chief.
Master Chief doesn't make Halo.
Yeah, who cares? Like, play it. And my only downside with that is, yeah, the characters are kind of just tokens and stuff. Like, you know, you have your token kind of like bulky guy character. You got your token like funny guy. You got your token lady. In my opinion, Master Chief is kind of a token. He's just token badass. He's just cool.
Yeah, he's the guy that gets shit done. He's a male Mary Jane.
In the games, anyway.
Or Mary Sue, that's what it is.
Yeah,
Mary Sue.
Mary Sue. A male Mary Sue. But
And then he has Cortana that does all his dialogue.
Yeah,
I hate
much.
Cortana, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
Like, the fact that she became the MacGuffin at the end of the game kind of irked me, but then she didn't really talk. It was just you trying to get her to the Forward Unto Dawn is the big ship. I think
at
so.
the end of which game?
Reach, which is the ship
Reach,
at the
okay.
beginning of Halo 1.
Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking about Cortana, and I didn't play 4 at all. Like, I could not get into it.
4 was very slow.
Yeah.
It started very strong when you're on the ship that you see Chief on at the end of Halo 3. But then once you get onto the Forerunner planet, it just stops.
Yeah.
And the story is enough to kind of keep you going, but the gameplay is just so bland that you're like, I've done this before. And where Reach is just always fun to me. Like, you've got this lush green world. It's heartbreaking to watch this world be destroyed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know the end. You know how it all goes, but you're watching the process, and there's times you forget. You know, you forget that it's not going to end well because you have so much hope, and you're seeing these characters like.
And
it's persevere, and they're like, people are dying off, and they're like, dude, you have to do this, you have to save the planet. You're like, yeah, okay, well, I'll do it for you. Maybe I can.
And it's a video game, so you're programmed to think, I have to be able to win.
Yeah.
And you can't.
Yeah.
And that's the best part of it, is the fact that you continuously play it and you're like, all right, I beat that level, I beat that level, I beat that level, and then you're like, oh man, but we still lost.
I love bittersweet endings. It's one reason I'm a big Game of Thrones fan, because I like that bittersweet. I don't like happy endings. I like sad or bittersweet endings because it's just more impactful. I like my happy endings from time to time. Don't get me wrong. No, just something like that where you're in that last rush and you're just taking out whoever you can, and you feel your heart twisting because you're like, well. Your palms are sweating. You're like, I know. As soon as I'm down, that's it.
Like the next one's going to take me out. No, the next one's going to take me out.
Yep.
It's heartbreaking because again, especially going back to your character and just again the last stand. You're literally just trying to take out as many of those bastards as you can.
Yep.
And you know. In the bottom of your stomach, like it's a fruitless effort.
Yeah.
But you still are just like, I'm gonna get that one. I'm gonna get that one. I'm gonna get that one. And
maybe I can do this. Maybe there's an achievement. Oh, maybe I can. Maybe there's a hidden cutscene. It's like, cool, I saved the Earth, and then like all of a sudden you just get like atomic bombed on or something. Like that's how it ends. But at least you killed all the aliens.
Yep. And then the other thing that I love about Reach is the fact that it had. I'm not a big multiplayer person. I was pretty decent at the swap mode for online, but if this island has no Wi-Fi, at least it has a horde mode.
Yeah.
Which they pretty much perfected from Halo ODST. The horde mode was a lot of fun, and it's challenging, but you can also get through it. It's not damn near impossible like Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yeah.
That horde mode pissed me off. I mean, there's a lot to say about that game in general, but that mode, like it was a chore getting through on easy. I remember on Mass Effect 3, easy was like, okay, yeah, we can do this. Normal was like, all right, it's a little harder, but yeah, we got through it. And then hard was shit.
Oh, my brother's like one of the biggest Halo fans I know. Since the first game. I remember when Halo 5 came out, we hopped online and we were going to play together. And he's like, hey, cool, have you played through the story yet? I'm like, nah, I haven't touched a campaign. He's like, cool, we're going on Legendary. I'm like, oh shit, dude. That was I took like maybe 4 steps forward every time and then just game over. Respawn.
And that's one thing I would look forward to as well, being able to play this game by myself, is finally being able to beat a Halo game on Legendary. I don't think I've ever actually done it by myself.
I certainly haven't. I got close. We would trudge through on Halo 1 as far as we could get. My best friend and I when we were like kids, but I never could do it, man. I've never been that talented. All right, well, I suppose my number 2? Okay, so disclaimer. This is very difficult for me to put this as a number 2 rather than a number 1. I stand by this is probably, in my opinion, the best video game ever made. For me. Like, everything I love in a game, this is it. But it's not my favorite one to play over and over and over again. Super Mario World.
I was very tempted to put that one on my list.
I know it's everybody has it on their top 10 best everything, blah blah blah. But I mean, I stand by that. That was probably my first video game. The nostalgia behind it, I love it. The difficulty, I love it. The secrets, I love it. The music, I love it. The art, everything about that game, infinitely replayable. If it goes to show anything. Before Nintendo still doesn't really have a grasp on the whole transfer your account over thing. But back when the original Wii came out and they had the Virtual Console, I bought that game 3 times because I had to buy it for each Wii. I bought it for my Wii U. I bought it for my 3DS. Once it goes up on Virtual Console for the Switch, I'm buying it again. And I have the SNES Mini now, and I have it on there. God, I love that game. It's just
so good.
To me, it's the most perfect platformer. People will fight me. Mario 3, okay, sure, whatever. But no, there's a reason this has the word Super Mario World in the title. Like, it's on the Super Nintendo, automatically better than the Nintendo. And it's just more colorful and it's better, and I love it. So I'm not listening to you, la 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 la.
Purple Yoshi is the best Yoshi. The one that
Yes.
can fly when you have Koopa Troopas in it.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Once
the game. Sure.
Once I was able to get to a Star World, like that was my path. Is how do I get to the purple Yoshi in the water level in the Star World? Okay, I got him. Now let's go and beat this bitch.
Yep. Oh yeah. No. Pretty much as soon as every time I played the game, I'd always have to get that first secret ghost house right above Oh god, I can't remember the name of the level. No, you're not a real Mario fan.
It's late.
Yeah. I'd have to get that ghost house because there's this infinite one-ups and feathers for days.
Yep.
And then you unlock the Star Road. And I remember, God, the first time I beat, like this, what is it, 8 Star Worlds, I think? They're Star levels. That was the biggest accomplishment in my life. And then the game got weird.
Yeah.
Like, everything looked funny, and it was like, that was cool. Let's do it again. Again, one of those, as soon as I hit that, and isn't it something weird? Isn't it like 103% or 113% for a complete? It's really bizarre. It's not 100. It's a weird number. But as soon as I hit that, just delete and restart. I love that. I've listened to so much Weird Al Yankovic playing that game. But yeah, that's definitely, it's my number 2 pick because my number 1 pick is very personal to me. Like, this is my favorite game of all time, but Mario World to me is probably the best game ever made. To me.
I would say probably Portal 2 was probably my favorite game of all time. But my number 1 is number 1 only because of how goddamn difficult it is. It is damn near impossible to beat in one outing. You have to... I think I made a mistake making this my number 1 without any extra wishes. I'm going to have to learn a better memory just because I'm not going to be able to get to the point in the game where I died without having to restart. So Zombies Ate My Neighbor.
There you go. Oh, dude.
Zombies Ate My Neighbors, developed by or LucasArts before, they stopped making good video games. Playing that game with 2 players is difficult. Playing that game with 1 is just being a glutton for punishment.
Oh yeah. We rented that game all the time as kids, and
that is one of my all-time favorite games. I have this dream of writing which apparently this is already in development, but one of my lifetime dreams is to make like the definitive video game movie, which is Zombies Ate My Neighbor, because there's no narrative to this. There's a crazy scientist who has somehow made all these classic horror movie monsters come to life and giant babies as well.
It's one of those, there's so many creative liberties you could have. It could be a parody, it could be a tongue-in-cheek comedy, it could be anything you want it to be. Legitimate horror.
Yeah, you can have some great moments with it.
Edgar Wright would do really well with that.
Yes, movie. He would.
Okay, Edgar Wright, if you listen to this.
Somehow,
some way.
We'll be sure to put him in one of the tags.
Yeah. Hashtag Edgar Wright. Hashtag make this movie. Please make this a thing. Please. This would be great.
But yeah, it's just so difficult, which is what I think, however long you can live on this island, you're going to try and beat this game, especially playing solo. It's so darn difficult. One of my favorite videos out there on the internet right now is the Game Grumps playing this game.
Yes.
It annoys the hell out of me that each video is only like 8 minutes long.
Right. This was back in the JonTron days too. I love that so much, especially when he'd get so easily freaked out. So it'd just be so much screaming. I love that. I love their playthroughs so much.
But there's so many great levels. There's the weed level where you have this weird purple alien plant where you have to like just weed whack your way through to get to the neighbors before the weeds grow too fast. The Frankenstein's castle. There's the pyramids. There's just so many great levels in that game.
It's creative and it's endless. And like you said, it's difficult. So like that was one we never owned, but we rented it all the time. And again, we never really got very far over a weekend before we had to drop it off.
But you had to write down those codes so you knew where you left off.
Jesus, yeah. I know my brother had a straight up like just a notebook full of codes, and I'm pretty sure like 18 pages of that was just from Zombies My Neighbors.
This is a long game too. I forget how many levels it was. I'm gonna look that up really quick while you continue to reminisce.
Was it like I'm just shooting this out of my butt, but it was like 50 or 60, or it could have been more. Now you got me thinking about like the Game Grump playthrough. I want to go back and rewatch that. It was so funny.
I googled how many levels in Zombies Ate My Neighbors, and Google is failing me right now.
Google, what are you doing, man? Or woman, whatever. I don't care. Whatever you want to be.
There are 50.
Okay.
So not as many, but it feels like a lot more because of how often you die.
How hard they are, yeah. Like you can't get through it.
There's level 48, the Curse of the Tongue, 48X, which is the boss fight with Dr. Tongue, who is the main antagonist of the game. And then you have a credit level, Monsters Among Us.
Nice. There you go.
I don't know if you were ever into these movies, but I think one of the reasons why I enjoy Zombies Ate My Neighbors so much was because I loved the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes movies, or at least the first two.
I remember I only probably watched them once, maybe twice when I was younger. They weren't my cup of tea, but I want to rewatch them now that I'm an adult. You know what I mean?
The important thing to remember with Attack of the Killer Tomatoes is it's one of the first like really successful intentional B movies.
Yeah.
Like they were intentionally trying to be bad.
Oh yeah.
And John Astin, who many might remember as Gomez Addams, the original Gomez Addams, is the main antagonist of the movie. He's the guy who's creating these killer tomatoes. And he just plays the wacky, crazed out scientist so well. And I love that, man. When I realized that he was the voice of, I think he was he was in Recess. I think he played a judge in the show, or he was the district.
The principal?
He wasn't the principal. That was the guy with a really large chin, Principal Prickly.
Yeah, I think that Prickly sounds about right.
Yeah, let's take another look here, just because now it's in my head.
Yeah.
John Astin. Was he the superintendent? Superintendent Schwartz? That sounds right to me.
Yeah. Oh man, now you got me wanting to watch Recess. It's been forever.
Superintendent Skinner.
What? No, that's from the...
No, that's Principal Skinner.
Oh, Principal Skinner. Huh.
And then Superintendent Chalmers is...
Now I'm going to go home tonight and just get on FX and watch The Simpsons. And now I got to find Recess. Thanks.
Netflix at least has the movie.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
So
I know what I'm doing this
there's a
weekend.
little something.
Yeah. Oh, so, okay, that's a pretty solid number one pick. That's pretty solid. Even now, I'm still trying to decide between... And you'll
Do you need a coin? I can go get a coin.
It's... maybe. So again, not the greatest games ever made, but they're my all-time... It's my all-time favorite game franchise. At least the original trilogy. I can't even count how many times I've beaten this game. I still have my original PS1 copies from when I was a kid, and I still play them every single year to 100%. Spyro the Dragon.
Ooh.
Now, the problem lies with, do I pick 1, 2, or 3? Because I never did a remastering. Not yet, anyway. Sony, please, if you're listening.
I got in trouble with my manager at GameStop because I thought that Skylanders was the collection.
Oh.
We had no description of it.
No.
And I was like, oh yeah, it's the Spyro collection.
Oh,
just
I wish.
Because like we found out that it was Spyro, and I was like, I knew nothing about Spyro at that time. I'm the assistant manager at GameStop, and I'm like selling shit to people that I don't know anything about.
It's speaking good for the company. But if it has to come down to it, 2 and 3 are kind of my toss-up. I even have it written down on my list. Spyro 2 or 3? Question mark. If I have to pick only one, I think I have to go 3. Because it introduced the new characters. Like, you had and I can't remember the names. I know Sheila was the kangaroo. But you got, like, the... Lieutenant, oh god, I'm a bad Spyro fan. The penguin, but like each character had their own different types of levels. So like you had the penguin, he could fly and he could like pick up bombs and drop them and stuff. So it was kind of like, think old Pilot Wings. It always reminds me of Pilot Wings.
Okay.
You had like a Agent 9 who was a monkey, and it was like a first person / third person shooter. I honestly think they got the idea for Ratchet and Clank because Insomniac made the original Spyro the Dragon trilogy, and then of course they made Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they got the idea from Ratchet and Clank from the Agent 9 monkey levels because it's just like a third-person shooter. Very simple, but they did the job. Oh, man. The music, I have the soundtracks downloaded from just like finding them online. I listen to them. I fall asleep to them. My favorite characters of all time come out of that game. I love Spyro the Dragon. From 2, Elora the Fawn, that what got me kickstarted on. I'm like, wow, fawns are cool. I'm going to look into these. And now I collect horns and all this crazy, like, don't come to my house. It looks like a creepy person lives there. But I'm unfortunately dropping, like, more money than I care to admit on what are they? First Four Figures, I think is the name of the company. They're doing this beautiful, like 15-inch statue, and it's styled after the PS1 Spyro the Dragon cover of him just standing there. The textures, it's gorgeous. I collect as much Spyro stuff as I can. My most embarrassing moment of my life, I'm pretty sure, it was winter. I had a hot cocoa. I sat down on the couch, loaded up like Spyro 2 or 3, I can't remember. I had my Spyro little plushie from when I was a kid in my lap, was blasting the music on my laptop, and I'm in head to toe in a Spyro kigurumi, like a Japanese onesie.
Okay.
Straight with, I had a tail, wings, horns. I still have that kigurumi, and that thing is comfy as hell. And my boyfriend comes home, and he just looks at the couch, and he just starts cracking up. He's like, God, you're pathetic looking. I'm like, yes, and I love it. I love that game. I love those 3 games so much. If I have to narrow it down, I'd pick 3 only because it's kind of like Spyro 1 was good, but Spyro 2 was better. Like the controls were better. They added more levels, more awesome, more power-ups. But then Spyro 3 took Spyro 2 and just fine-tuned those things and made it even better. That, and it's like the only game that I feel like post-credits, when you get like you finish your collectathon and you defeat the boss, they give you access to like special power-ups and stuff. Well, in all the other games, it's like, oh cool, I got the power-up. I already completed the game 100%. There's literally no reason for me to have this power-up. In this one, they kind of send you to like an extra little island, and then if you do all the right things, you get to redo the boss battle, but it's even harder. So it's kind of like, all right, this feels worth it. I know it's probably like not the choice that.
One of the things that just popped into my head, when you're two of the things actually, when you're talking about the penguin that you can like bomber fly with like pilot wings, the first thing that popped into my head was The Critic, the old John Lovitz show. There's a scene where his dad and his mom are flying, and I guess they're having like turbulence, and so the dad's like, I'm gonna go see what's going on with the pilot, and there's a penguin flying the plane. And the dad just has this realization, like, penguins can't fly, and it's so great.
I mean, you're
and
not
the minute he says it the second time, penguins can't fly, the plane just nosedives, and they end up stranded on a desert island.
I mean, yeah.
which is very appropriate for this discussion.
Oh,
and then the other thing I'm thinking about is, if there's anyone actually listening to this, that person's probably going to be the one snob that's like, they didn't talk about Psychonauts. They're bastards. I'm never listening to them again.
Yeah, well, I'm tuning off too, because, I mean, I had a pretty shit number 1 pick. I've met tons of Spyro fans, especially anybody who, like, grew up on PS1 era, and that's, like, they're more nostalgic. Crash Bandicoot's always at the top of everybody's list. I love Crash, but I only had 3. Spyro the Dragon, I had all 3. I played the hell out of those. That was, like, the first game I remember my parents... I would rent it every weekend, and they were throwing money down the toilet just for me to rent this game. And again, it's a collectathon. You got to get to 100%, baby. And
thank God for the development of memory cards.
Oh, I know. Like, thank God. But by the time my parents rented it, like a 6th the time, they were finally like, yeah, we're just gonna buy this for you because we're tired of spending money. And I still have them to this day. I still play them every single year. Sometimes multiple times. I love it. And I love to make fun of it. Like, it's got such cheesy voice acting in times. And one of my favorite, like, internet memes, it's very simple, but it's just, there's, anybody who's played Spyro 2 knows this, but there's this pelican, and you're supposed to get into this, like, trolley and jump a course and collect, like, little gears, and then, you get, like, a reward for it. Every time you crash, you have to restart. And every time you crash, the pelican goes, trouble with the trolley, eh? And that was one of the harder ones as a kid. So I can't tell you how many times I had to hear trouble with the trolley, eh? Trouble with the trolley, eh? I remember when I first started, like, kind of browsing the internet, and I'm going on just, video game forums or, Reddit or V or anything like that. I found somebody posting, like, worst moments in video games, and the screenshot was of that fucking pelican going, trouble with the trolley, eh? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not alone. That was like my first realization of, hey, there's a community of people who also hate this guy. Who else does the internet hate?
Now, remind me, is that in the era of voice acting in video games? Was Elijah Wood Spyro at that point?
No, actually, the very first Spyro game, I cannot remember the guy's name. I'm pretty sure it's the guy who actually voices Rocco from Rocco's Modern Life. I think it was him. But Spyro 2 and 3, it was actually Tom Kenny. And he's still my favorite Spyro. So it was actually before Elijah Wood. Elijah Wood came on in like the PS2 era. He did that trilogy. Those were okay, but the top tier ones are always going to be the Insomniac trilogy.
Yeah, Carlos Alazraqui with the voice of Rocco and the Taco Bell dog, for fun
really?
fact. Yeah.
Oh. I had a stuffed animal of that. And it would always go, you quiero taco.
And Clancy Brown was Delbin. Clancy Brown you may know as Mr. Krabs.
Yes.
And Lex Luthor in the Superman the Animated Series and Justice League Animated Series.
I'm trying to think, did Clancy Brown voice Jecht in who's the guy who voiced Jecht in Final Fantasy X? That guy, that was the first time I ever heard that particular voice actor. He was Hunter the cheetah, and Hunter's a dick. Oh my god, every damn time you're like, hey, I'm collecting dragon eggs to save the fucking world, and he's like, hey Spyro, I we dragon egg, but I'll only give it to you if you beat me in a fishing competition. Bitch, we're saving the world. Give me the fucking egg. We don't have time to fish. We don't have time to collect popcorn crystals. Give me the goddamn egg. We always joke that he was probably just storing it in his butt or something.
So Jecht is played by Greg Berger.
Greg Berger.
Who is Grimlock in Transformers Devastation, which came out in 2014. He is probably more prominently known as the Grumble in Real Monsters.
Oh my god! I didn't know that. More nostalgia I have to watch when I go. That's why I'm kind of surprised. I didn't even realize, what was his name? Greg Berger?
Yeah.
I didn't know he was like the, in Real Monsters, so I guess that was probably the first time
I mean, the grumble just spoken grumbles,
Yeah.
So,
but,
I mean, no one would be able to pick that out of the lineup.
True. Maybe now knowing I could probably, but now it's... So, okay, I take it back. That's the first time I ever heard him. But, like, now I heard him as the... what's his name? Hunter the Cheetah. And then when I played Final Fantasy X for the first time, I was like, oh god, I can't take that guy seriously. I can't. All I can hear is a stupid cheetah.
Yeah, kind of sticking with the voice actors for a minute. One, Jim Cummings is like my hero.
Oh, God,
I mean, that guy is in everything and he does everything. I watched the Nostalgia Critics Disney Afternoon special thing that he did it was like a 45-minute episode.
Yeah.
And he went through the lineup as they came out. So it started with like Gummy Bears, DuckTales.
Yeah.
And it progressed. Like once it got to Tailspin, Jim Cummings was in Tailspin. He was in Darkwing Duck. He was in Bonkers. He was in Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. He was like the cornerstone for the Disney Afternoon. He had his hand in every show.
Pretty much.
I got the chance to meet him at C2E2. Oh. He was late showing up, and this is a great story that I don't care if my daughter never knows who this is. Jennifer Hale was in the booth next to him.
I love her.
Probably her most prominent video game role would be the voice of Femshep in the Mass Effect trilogy. My personal favorite is she was Carol Danvers in Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
Yep.
She was in the booth next to Jim Cummings. Again, he was late, so my daughter was asleep in her stroller, and then she wakes up probably about 15 minutes before he shows up, and she just starts getting really squirmy. She doesn't want to eat. She just wants to move.
Yeah.
And we don't want to get out of line because we don't want to miss Jim Cummings.
Yeah.
And so out of nowhere, I'm like holding my daughter. She's like squirming in my arms. And all of a sudden, Jennifer Hale is walking towards us. And I'm just like, what the hell is happening right now? Like, is Jennifer Hale going to yell at me because my kid is being, awful right now?
Right.
And she goes, I think she needs to play. And so she's like, tells me to put her down. And she just like starts chasing my kid around in an empty space in the
awesome.
area between their two lines. And she plays with her for like a good minute, just letting her chase her and run around. I have really short video of it. Like I don't care if my daughter never knows that the current voice of Cinderella chased her around.
Oh, that's so cool.
But it's like it melted my heart, and I immediately like tweeted it. I was like, Jennifer Hale's the best person ever.
That's so awesome.
It was a great moment among many great memories that we're gonna have of our kid when she's little that she'll never be able to appreciate.
Right, exactly. Well, it's kind of the point of having a kid is they get their memories, but then you get yours too. And why do you think so many people go to Disneyland when their kid's like 3 weeks old? They're like, oh, we're doing it for little Billy. You're not doing it for little Billy. You're doing it for you.
we took Luella to Disney World quote unquote took her. A friend was getting married on a weekend, so we went to Disney World, which is like a week before her birthday. And we're like, we'll say it's her birthday present, but it's obviously for us.
Right.
And we'll just take her to go see all these things. She's not even a year old. We weren't expecting her to really react to anything except maybe Mickey Mouse, because she watched nothing but Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Right, yep.
We went in line to see Tigger and Pooh.
Aw.
She had the biggest expression on her face when she saw Pooh. She's like, oh my God, that is the biggest teddy bear I ever saw. Gave him the biggest hug. And I don't know if it was genuine or not, but the person in the Tigger mask was putting the hands over the face, like, oh my God, that's so cute. And then she gave Tigger a big hug, and Pooh did it too. And I got tears in my eyes because Pooh is my favorite Disney character.
That's
and
so
I started welling up a little bit. It was like, this is even better than I could have imagined.
All of my dreams.
I didn't even know I dreamed these dreams.
Oh my God.
So yeah, and among other things, Jim Cummings was the voice of Winnie the Pooh and the New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh and all that. And so just getting to meet the voice of Winnie the Pooh, not even a year after she got to quote unquote meet Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
It was great. I mean, again, she was kind of tired, but it was fun. And voice actors are literally the voice of my childhood. And
I've lost so much passion as far as the voice acting scene. It was something I wanted to do since I was like a teenager, and I didn't care if it was video games, radio ads, TV, cartoons, anime. It didn't matter. I just wanted to voice act. So like I said, I used to just worship these people. I remember my senior year of high school, I had to write, I don't even know what class was for, but I had to write a whatever page paper for one of my heroes, and I just did it on Mel Blanc for Looney Tunes, the original Bugs Bunny. Basically every single voice in Looney Tunes is him. He was like Barney Rubble, any classic cartoon. Unfortunately, I think he passed away in 1988 or 89, right before I was born. And I'm like, that would have been cool to meet him. And then it just kind of, drove on from there. I was like, this guy's awesome. I can't believe he does 700 different characters. Let's see who else is really talented.
Billy West is one of those guys.
Yes, yeah. Billy West. Dude, I was super mad. I went to Anime Midwest this past year, and I was in line to meet some Japanese guests, but Billy West was in the booth literally right next to him. And I was like, well, I can't get in line for both. I came here specifically for the Japanese guests. And I was standing off to the side after I was done meeting the guests and stuff. I was waiting for my friends to come by. And Billy West just gets up and leaves, and he walks by and he has a tour guide trying to get him to the next panel or wherever he's going. And I was kind of standing in his way, and I was super tired, and I just kind of looked at him. He's like, hi. And I was like, oh, hi, how are you? He's like, good. I'm like, oh, sorry, I'll get out of your way. And then right when he walked by, I was like, God damn it, I should have at least acknowledged him. Like, it's nice to meet you, Mr. West. Because he probably thought I didn't know who the hell he was. I'm dressed up. He probably thought I was just some weird anime noob and weeaboo. And I'm like, no, I actually know who you are and I love you. I could have said something and I didn't.
The biggest disappointment, Disney's version of Doug, was that they did not bring Billy West back. And he's openly talked about how they wanted him to stay on the same salary that he was at and voice an additional 4 or 5 characters.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it just.
Why do you think all these voice actors go on strike?
Yeah, there's, like you said, there's so many. Tara Strong's another one of them. My wife and I got a chance to meet her at our first convention together. Yeah, voice acting is just an amazing art, and among other things, I'm pimping all this stuff out for free. If you're in the Chicago area, look up Rob Paulson and the Animaniacs Live, wherever you are in the country, and you find out that there's a Talking Tunes panel. Go to those.
Oh, yeah.
Or not Talking Tunes, Twisted Tunes. Twisted Tunes panels are amazing. They get anywhere between 6 to 8 or 9 voice actors, and they read a script of a movie. And it's just, we saw Back to the Future at C2E2 last year, and Richard Horvitz as as Zim.
I was gonna say Invader Zim, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Richard Horvitz as Zim as Doc Brown.
Oh my god. Oh my god, I gotta find that online. I gotta see if somebody recorded that on YouTube or something.
I'm sure it's out there somewhere because the Twisted Tunes people, they say that we want all this stuff out there. So feel free to record, feel free to do whatever, post it. Just make sure you tag us in it.
Yeah,
And
that's awesome.
Richard Horvitz to me will always be Daggett.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I can't think of his name. Norbert. Norbert, not Norbit. That's a horrible movie. Norbert.
I know who he is too. He was the voice of
think
Salem.
Yeah, I was gonna say Salem the cat. Every time I heard Salem talk, I was like, nah, he's a beaver, man. He's not a cat. What's going on? I love him so much. We'll have to strictly do a podcast. Just
Nick Bakay.
Nick Bakay. Okay.
Yeah, there's going to have to be a podcast solely dedicated to just gushing about voice actors. I follow so many on Twitter. Tara Strong's amazing. She shares a bunch of puppy videos, and she also does a bunch of quick like little vines doing voices. Like she'll do Timmy Turner and then switch over to Bubbles, and it's great. I love following voice actors, and Billy West doing Zapp Brannigan as Donald Trump is amazing. I don't care what your political views are. Hearing Zapp Brannigan reading these tweets is amazing.
Well, I mean, Zapp Brannigan's kind of like the perfect person to be quoting anything from Donald Trump.
Zapp Brannigan always makes me a little sad, though, because he was originally supposed to be voiced by Phil Hartman.
Yeah, that's just tragic in and of itself.
Yeah, so we're going to end on a somber note here, because we both need to get to bed.
Feel free to judge me about all my video game picks. Call me utter trash.
We've already acknowledged our love of Richard Horvitz, so Psychonauts gets a pass because we love Richard Horvitz. Do you have any social media stuff you want to share?
I'm really not too up. I
need to get
Twitter.
people that are more social on social media.
I have Twitter. I'm mostly on Instagram. I just post stupid selfies and crap. But you can follow me on almost anything. It's Beppo, Bepbo. I'm on Tumblr, very rarely, but mostly just Twitter and Instagram.
Okay. Well, yeah, make sure you follow her. I'm sure it's at least fun.
Sure.
You can always follow Talking Smack on Facebook and YouTube. YouTube is where we post all of our podcasts if you don't have iTunes. You can email us at talkingsmackpod. Again, smack is spelled SMAC. Superheroes, movies, animation, comics. Video games fall under the superhero category for me, so that's kind of our way. Yeah. It's our Wi-Fi on the island.
Yeah.
Again, you can follow us on Twitter at Talking Smack Pod, and you can email us at tsmackpod@gmail.com. You can follow me at Josh_Scar, and that Scar is spelled SKAAR, like Son of Hulk. And
I love that reference.
it's my actual last name. Lots of people don't necessarily believe me when I tell them, and that's badass, man. Like, sure, I guess.
I get the same thing when people hear I'm Mandii Moore. They're like, "Oh, I loved you in Tangled." I'm like, thanks. Where's my fucking money?
Where's my royalties, bitch?
Yeah, please and thank you.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to end the show. Thanks again for listening. Feel free to email us. If you don't like our list, tell us what you would put on your list. Share feedback, whatever. We want to hear from anyone who's listening, just because feedback is going to be a big part of how we direct this show. Thanks again for listening. Thanks again for taking the time. Mandii, thanks again for being here.
Yeah, thank you
We'll
for
definitely
having me.
have you back on.
Definitely.
And with that, cue the theme music.